Next, agenda item 98 is the John Adams Mississippi High School Complex Annex Facility Update.
We want to, I think, give you a couple of updates, and I think last week while I was gone, there was a meeting to talk about the two-story for the high school, because we had to start working on that so that we could get some costings and that kind of stuff. And so, TJ, I'm going to ask you and maybe Ramona and Bob, will you be there? Okay, to talk a little bit about what you're going to see. I've got, these are smaller plans that, and remember, this is just a draft of what might occur, but I'd like them to talk about that so that this rolls into that whole construction project work that we're doing weekly.
You're talking about the annex first, right?
No, I was going to talk about the high school first. The two-story first. And we'll talk about the annex next. Because they don't have, the high school is just more information in terms of where we are, and then we'll go to the annex piece.
And as Ramona's kind of passing those out, I'll kind of give you the background to what
This is Vanna and...
basically, the architects that we've been working with, even on John Adams, met with me and some other members of our leadership team, and basically took what do we currently have in our academic two-story, what's our programming needs, what are big ideas that they need to take, and they did the same process that they did with John Adams. For instance, how many science rooms do you have right now? When were they last updated? How many math rooms are you going to need? Do you want your 9th grade teachers to be by each other? All those types of things. The big ideas that we focused on actually came from our facilities committee 2 years ago when it came to the academic two-story. We needed to focus on the learning environment because we knew the inner classrooms were not a very good learning environment at all. And so we wanted to improve the learning environment. To do that, we need better airflow. So we need mechanical, we need natural light, and then we need more electrical. Were the three main things that they focused on. After taking in kind of all the information kind of from the leadership team, they came up with this plan or idea, and we kind of bounced some things back and forth. April 12th, they'll be coming back to meet with the high school staff to get the teacher's perspective on which would be more detailed, oriented, instead of big picture, so it's kind of creating the buy-in from everybody in the building kind of thing. The big changes that they came up with, the first part is on the first floor, taking out the inner classrooms and replacing it with our IC, moving the IC there. The IC doesn't need as much natural light as what our learning environments are going to need. Then they also took out a few classes because we have a few open classrooms that we use for storage, or sometimes with our co-teaching to expand the classroom, we move half the room over here to work with one teacher and half the room stays to work with another teacher. And so to promote the idea of moving forward and kind of some of those 21st century things that we really want to take place in our building, we needed to create an environment conducive to that. So taking out some of the rooms allowed us to create a commons. They call it commons right now, but that's actually more of a project-based area for teachers. For instance, I went to Laura Gromish's room today, and she was doing an activity where students were collaborating with each other and having to identify different colors and different things in German. And her room was very tight. Kids were on top of each other trying to collaborate amongst groups. These commons would allow us those learning environments that are a little bit bigger than classrooms and a little bit more open, so that way kids weren't on top of each other and could have a little bit more space to move around and learn. So that was the other, when we talk about improving instruction, this helps us and it enables us to do that. They kind of put all the subjects together. The big thing is actually on the second floor, and it leads down to this middle area right here. Which I'm gonna use kind of the layman's term, not the architectural term, but these right here are almost like skylights, for natural light to come in to that area, kind of from the roof. And then they talked about having some windows, which is kind of at the sides there, so natural light could go into the living classrooms there. They tried to limit how many inner classrooms that we had. That's the second floor, and you can kind of see the same idea. They put the 9th grade together, and actually even put a team room for the teams to meet and collaborate, the teams of teachers. And if they need to have a parent meeting or that kind of thing, and that's the idea that we're currently in 9th grade teams, or 7th and 8th grader in teams, that we want to kind of keep as we progress students through. This light would actually end up, I believe, and I can't remember the explanation, getting down to the first floor.
Yeah, right by the radius on that.
Yes, kind of through this area. And actually, we talked about having 3 of these to kind of fill the light. And the other parts, on the other one, there's a hallway, which we don't have right now, in the middle of the second floor to make it actually less congestion on the second floor, because really it's almost a big square now, and you know, the traffic's going in different directions. I need to go this stairwell that way, but then having a hallway in the middle. Now that would be about an 8-foot hallway, and there would be kind of pillars in the middle of it because of the roof, but it would allow easier access on the second floor. Also talked about ADA, making everything ADA accessible and that.
And the elevator goes on the outside, is that right?
Actually, the elevator, where the student counter is now, on the back side of that student counter, there's a mural. It's kind of where the water machine is. That would become where the elevator is. Originally, they talked about having it in one of these 2 locations, but the space isn't big enough to build a shaft for the elevator. So they moved it over here, which this is the it would be part of the student counter. So we'd lose some of that space. We use that sparingly throughout the year, but we don't need as much space.
It's kind of where the water machine sits right now.
Right.
In front of that water.
That's actually they felt the only good place to put it in the building when it came to the space required, the electrical, having a mechanical room just for the elevator. They felt that was the only area they could gain space that would hit the 2 floors. And we already have one that goes down from floor 1 to the gym. We did talk about the number of team rooms. They actually had 2 on each floor. One of the big things that we mentioned that they were going to go back and think about is we're actually losing storage, and that's already a need, especially in our music wing and some of our extra tables and desks and that kind of thing. So we talked about, do we really need 2 team rooms on each floor? Can we make one into a storage? But again, this is kind of the first draft, so they're going to go back and tweak some things, and then after the teachers talk with them, they'll tweak again. And it's kind of, by the time fall rolls around, you know, when we're talking about October, they're going to want to be pretty close to being finished with the plan, so that way they can put the bid documents together. I think for January is what the date, the month that they were looking at.
And this kind of gives us an opportunity to develop some costings, some estimates around how much it might cost to renovate that portion of the building. So the story construction can start working on those costings along with our degree, and I was excited after I saw this today, because I think I'd given up on the opportunity for any kind of skylight, and so I'm hoping that those will, that would really help that, have that little penthouse of light up there.
They did price out actually like a glass floor that kids could walk on, because they use that in business building. But it was going to reach $1 million for each one, so they kind of quickly scratched that. But they wanted to let us know that they did consider that. Although I was kind of against it anyway, just having high school students to work with. The one thing,
Less glass where
it
they
wasn't
bump
going to
into
be
each
good.
other.
Yes. The one thing I do need to point out is the windows, like the science rooms, they were talking about mechanical, not doing a lot of work too, because they've been updated, I think, in the last 5 years or so. But they would need new lighting, new mechanical, that kind of thing. But also, making the windows 6 foot. Right now they're 4 foot, making the windows 6 foot to allow more light into the rooms. And actually you can see kind of adding in windows that we currently don't have. We actually have those, they look smaller than 4 feet to me from the outside, but we only have about 3 windows on each side currently. So this would drastically increase the windows that we have. So,
And they were gonna do that as an alternate,
yes.
so that we know how much that costs us for the extra.
So that was kind of some of the information that came up on Wednesday.
Thanks, TJ.
TJ, can I ask you a question about those skylights?
Yeah.
Have they talked to you at all about, I mean, I love the skylight idea, the more natural light, the better. Just rain and snow on those, is that something you guys have talked about with?
Yeah, actually, we did. Actually, Scott from Story Construction was the first to bring it up. This roof, and I can't remember how big of an overhang, but the way they angled it was to ensure that we wouldn't have a problem with snow buildup and then melting and leaking. And they kind of compared it, although it's the light, it wouldn't be like a skylight in our house, you know, that's flat with the roof. There's a roof kind of on top of it, so that way it would prevent the leaking and that kind of thing. But it's kind of neat to.
So they can guarantee no leakage?
That's what they were talking about.
Good. They want that writing.
That's right. Thanks. Lenore, did you think of anything else from that meeting?
No, I think we did a great job.
Thanks, TJ.
Thank you, that's kind of exciting to get it.